Kimberly Bolaños, Graduate Records.
Daniel Weber, Enrollment Services.
Christopher Owen, Music and Music Education.
Ana Beata Miller, Academic Affairs.
Vladimir Fernandez, College of Business Advising.
Santiago Tapia Rubio, College of Education.
Lynn Bryan, Academic Advising.
I think one of the main things that we want to talk about is you have a pack of handouts in front of you, and the first of the page is just sort of a little description of what you can expect for the rest of this semester. There will be another one like this for next semester, but we have time for that. And then you see something that is basically, it starts with undergraduate application for graduation. So the next, I think, 5 sheets there really give you some idea of the graduation checklist that exists on this campus, especially with Enrollment Services, with the registrar. And I think we'll have you start this off and lead us through this. And then there are a few more pages that Santiago has sent me that are specifically dealing with education, with the College of Education, and what specifics are required in the case of graduating as an education. Okay, so.
Sure. I'm Dan Weber. I'm in Enrollment Services and serve as the University Registrar, so thank you for the opportunity to speak with all of you today. As you can tell, we are still working with paper regarding our applications, and we have 2 separate ones. We have the undergrad application for graduation, and we have the graduate application. There are some differences. For the most part, they're very similar in how they've been set up. There are different deadline dates that undergrad students need to apply for graduation versus our graduate students, our master's students. And along with the graduate students, they need to follow some requirements regarding their thesis or their project. So for the most part, those are the differences between the 2 forms, but we've needed to have 2 separate ones to help really clarify for the students what is required. I also wanted to introduce to you, if you've not had a chance to meet them, Lena Brown is the supervisor for graduation evaluations. She and a staff of 2 others actually are the 3 individuals who process the graduation applications for our undergrad students. And Kim Bolaños is our assistant registrar for graduate records. So she and another staff member are the ones that are processing the graduate application. So on a day-to-day basis, if you have questions when it comes to actually filling out the graduation requirements, or your students do, they and their staffs are the 2 individuals, or more, really 5 individuals that would be able to assist in answering those questions. The students do have to apply for graduation. There are some colleges and universities that don't require students to apply for graduation. Most 4-year schools do, and we do require that. We do need to have the students applying as early as possible in the process by those deadline dates, because we do have limited staff, and it takes time for us to process not only the upcoming graduation applications, but also the current applications. For example, literally yesterday, we just graduated our summer applicants. It takes about a month and a half after the official end of the semester for us to ensure that all of the grades are in, that the students, that we have to do a recheck. We go through the graduation application again, make sure that students have met their graduation requirements before we can actually graduate the students. But while that's also going on, we have a commitment to our students that we will notify them, as long as they've applied by the deadline, of any graduation requirements that are outstanding, so that they know. It really should be a check. They really should know from an advisor perspective that they have met the graduation requirements, both the degree requirements and the university requirements. But we really we really have it set up so that we can notify the students that if there is anything else that's still outstanding, so they have at least a semester in advance to be able to work through any requirements. The online degree evaluation, the degree audit, is another tool that our students and advisors can use. It is an opportunity for students to be able to run through that by themselves and see where they may stand. Advisors and academic advising, I know, are using it quite regularly. It is newer, so we always encourage that if you see something that may not be completely accurate, or if your student has received a substitution or waiver, to please notify Karen Jackson or Dan Zobat or myself so that we can address those issues. But the goal is for us to be able to have the students apply online with an online graduation application and use the online degree audit. And this fall, we're going to begin piloting with some of the departments and some of the colleges to stop accepting academic course records, paper course record forms, because we've been monitoring those as we built up the degree audits and ensuring the accuracy of some of those programs. So we're going to slowly begin to phase out paper academic course record forms. And really what the academic course record form is, there's a generic one toward the very back that's used at the graduate level right now. And I would say that most of your departments, if not all of your departments have, well, I know that they have developed them for the undergrads and most of them have developed them for the grad level students as well. It really tells us which courses have met the students' degree requirements, because you know more than we do of what substitutions or waivers have been approved.
So can you just emphasize that, yes, we do substitutions sometimes?
They do, and in the past, we would receive those at the time that a student was applying for graduation. We want the online degree audit to be as accurate as possible, so we are asking advisors and departments to submit substitutions and waivers through memo format. We're working on a more formalized process with that as well, but we really want to have that information come in as soon as the decision is made so that we can update the online degree audit so that both the student and the advisor can see accurate information. I can go into a lot of details. I want the other panelists to have a moment, but I do want to say that we do try to reach out to the students in multiple ways. The undergrad students, and well, both undergrad and grad, the information is in the catalog regarding deadline dates. It's in the online class schedule. We do put information into Newport. We also send out targeted announcements. For example, to the undergrad students, there's an email that comes from me that once they reach 85 semester hours, they will receive an email about the possibility that they're getting closer to the ability to graduate. So we're encouraging them, and we're also giving them the future deadline dates to apply. I also have opportunities. For example, I'm looking at ZIP. I have an opportunity to talk with the College of Education the student teachers as they're getting ready to graduate. So if there are those opportunities, I'd be glad to come out and talk with your departments too about what we can do to ensure that your students, if you have a cohort or a group of students that are moving through, we really try to get that information out to the students about the deadline, because if they don't meet the deadline, we've got a little bit of wiggle room, but we don't have a lot, so we may have to push them to a future semester if they don't get the paperwork in on time, and we really want to help the students get graduated when they're ready to graduate.
The front part of the book, though, is the part that you really ought to take a look at. And this gives you the overarching rules about pretty much everything, academic-wise at the university. It does have in here a list of, the general education requirements specified. And here, on the back of this page, is a list of everything that counts currently for general education. We are getting some changes. You've probably heard that, and I don't know what that'll look like exactly, but for this semester, this is what counts. So I'll pass that around too. In order to get a degree from Northeastern, students have to complete 120 credits at least, of which that will be about 39 credits of general education. I say about 39 because most majors have some courses that count for general education. So since they're doing their major, their general education might be fewer. But generally, about a third of the degree is general education. It consists of requirement currently for 2 classes in the fine arts, 3 classes in humanities, 4 classes in social and behavioral sciences, 1 class in math, quantitative reasoning, and 3 classes in natural sciences, one which needs to have a lab. The list here is every class that counts for those requirements. So a student can't just take any old art class to meet fine arts. They're going to take one of these from the list. However, if they're an art major, they needn't take any other fine arts because their whole major is a fine art, and the university is convinced that they understand the concept of fine arts being an art major. But we don't know if they would understand the concepts of science, so we make sure they take 3 of these classes. So when a freshman comes to orientation, this information is what is the main part of what we're trying to teach them at the beginning of their degree, which is every time you go to register, your question you're asking yourself is, how am I doing on my path of completing general education? Because of course everybody thinks about a major. I'm going to college, everyone asks them, what are you going to major in? So they know that that's part of college. But this idea of general education, which those of us, I assume everyone here did some when they were undergrads too, is basically an American concept that we want all of our students to be well-rounded in all areas, not just to study 120 credits in the thing they like best, but to know they know at least a little bit about all these areas. So we give them a lot of options too. Now one thing I want to point out, what is not on here is composition. Composition 1 and 2, English 101 and 102 are not on this list. They're their own requirement. Well, 101 is the university's requirement. Some majors have 102 in addition to that. So you'll, like I say, they're not on there, so we cover that separately. Yes, you still need composition. And then another requirement that's not on here, but is a graduation requirement, is understanding human relations. That is a state of Illinois law. House bill, I'm not even going to try, but anyway, that says that every student who graduates from a university in Illinois, a state university in Illinois, will have a class on human relations. So there is also a list of classes that count for that, and all of them also count for general education. So most every time, even without thinking about it, students will meet that, but it is something that as an advisor you do have to check for. If you're working with a senior and they've never taken one of those, they will not graduate, am I right, Lena? Yes. So, writing intensive program is another one, and again, that's not because, again, this is our freshman list, we don't want to blow their minds too much. And the writing intensive program comes directly from a student's major. They don't just go around the university and pick a class that might be intense in its writing requirement. They pick it from their major. So that's another reason we don't have it on this list, but that is something that you'll want to make sure you know what it is. Back to the degree overview though, 120 credits, 39 or so from general education, so about 13 classes, a major. Some majors are very, well, I don't know, some majors will take up the rest of those credits, almost all of them, other majors don't.
And we don't require a minor anymore.
Right, no minors required. So let us say a student decides to be an economics major. Economics is 10 courses, 30 credits. So, and I think this is a really important place for faculty advisors to step up, is student goes, oh, I'm done with my gen ed, I've done all my econs, but I still got 70 more credits to take. What should I take? So my advice to them when I'm talking to them about it when they're, you know, freshmen, sophomores, is talk to your faculty advisor about what goes well with your economics for what you'd like to do in your life. Or it can just be another interest of yours. If you're going to be an economist who's also a musician, we can make that happen, you know, with that music major or a minor. Or you can take a variety of courses. By the time I finished my major and my general education, I just had a few, so I just took things that I thought I might enjoy. That's a possibility as well. Yes?
You can send them to career services to
Another
take the
consideration.
survey thing, the interest survey, I forget who does it. Anyway, there's an interest survey that we all took sometime in our lives, I'm sure, but they do that, and that might help the student figure out where they might kind of look into.
I was just going to ask, we haven't yet talked about the 200 versus 300 levels, so the idea to just take any class they want might
Should
not
at
be
least
the
have that
best
caveat, yeah. Because that's the one other thing I haven't mentioned yet. Of their 120 credits, at least 18 of them must be numbered higher than 200, and 24 of them must be numbered higher than 300. Some majors cover that automatically. Economics is not one of them, so. Again, those of you with the small majors need to keep that in mind too, because nor will we let them out of here if they've done even gen ed 2 majors, if they're, you know, don't have that many credits at these upper levels. So basically towards the end, we don't want everybody taking 100 just because it's an easy A. We want to continue challenging them and they to continue challenging themselves too.
What about the math requirement?
The general education math requirement is just one class at the college level. And again, many majors have additional maths. The choices are on that list I gave you. Well over 50% of our students do not test into college level math as freshmen coming in. So they need remedial intro to algebra classes. Depending on their major, they'll take up to 3 of those and 1 at the college level. And then again, some majors have additional courses. Psychology and sociology have stats courses that are on the general education list, you'll notice. So that means that if a person should, let's say, minor in psych, but be a English major, the math that could be the one that meets their general education could be the psych stats, because it's on the list.
One thing to note is the remedial courses in math do not count to the 120 minimum credit requirement.
They do not have credit, nor do they count towards a person's GPA. But you still got to get a C in them, or better, to move to the next one. For the general education, the great majority of them don't have any prerequisites, but there are some that have math, especially in the sciences, the physics and the earth science and the chemistry. The student has to be higher than math 91, I think, to get into those. And economics as well. They have to be, know at least their basic algebra.
The other pitfall that you might run into could be that a student has received more than 2 D grades in general education credit courses, and then that will be a problem.
What's the problem?
Only 2 D grades are allowed for any courses that are going to count towards general education credit.
So they won't, if they got 3, one of those doesn't count towards
Correct.
gen ed.
It does. Here's my turn to kind of have your head spin a little bit. It is with the College of Education. Now, what Lynn was saying about 39 hours in the College of Education, you probably will see it in the last page of the brochure you guys have. It is identical. We do also require 39 hours for the College of Education. The problem is that we demand specific work. And that's one of the problems that sometimes we have, especially when students transfer with an associate. Because it is fair to assume that with the associate, you have covered everything. But unfortunately, and the degree evaluation automatically does that for them. But then here I have a student who actually is not saying, well, how come I need to take a music class? Well, because the College of Education, like in the case of the fine arts, requires to have a music and an art. So if the students don't have that, whether they have already brought something similar with the associate, they won't be able to graduate even if they complete the whole program in education, because it still is something missing from what we want as part of what the whole certification would be. So that's an essential thing, at least in my area as the pre-major advisor for the College of Ed, that's what I do the best I can to cover that. It's the same situation, but primarily, and actually academic advising helped us tremendously, especially with freshman students and sophomore. We also mentioned that we don't need a minor. We don't necessarily for the other 2 colleges, but for the College of Education in elementary education, you either have to have the equivalent to an area of concentration, let's say in this case art, with what the minor would be, or you declare it officially. If you don't have that, then obviously, again, the student will not be able to graduate. For students who actually have extra time, at least in elementary education, we do require students, just instead of randomly just taking courses, which they could by all means, is to take something that can lead to endorsements for elementary education, like endorsements in mathematics and social sciences and natural sciences. So, and again, or they can extend their minor from what the original 18 hours might have been to like 27 or more. I mean, in fact, some students actually walked out of the College of Education with a full second major in political science or in history, depending on when they get admitted, because that's the other thing too. With the College of Education, students can only take those courses once they're admitted. So if it takes them a semester, 2, and unfortunately it takes them a year or 2 to get admitted, well, the workload begins only from that time. Yeah. So it's because we also have a system for admission, which consists of tests, application, GPA, and all those. With the exception of, maybe you'll see it in the back of that page, I think, is level 1. Level 1 is open for every student. As long as they pass the sophomore status, they can start taking those courses.
So here's the thing with secondary ed. The students are not majoring in secondary ed, they're majoring in your areas. English and math and history and whatever, if your area has a secondary ed degree. They're licensing in secondary ed, but they really do belong to, quote unquote, the major. They have to have the College of Ed advising because it's so bound by state laws, right? But their major is it's the secondary ed, not primary ed. Their major is in the arts and sciences, and their licensing comes out of the secondary ed, but they need advising from both. It is absolutely imperative to have advising from both areas.
And that's one of the reasons, thank you, Vicki, for that, because that's one of the reasons why some schools get confused. When my advisor in history told me I don't need to take these classes. Well, the mind frame oftentimes of the advisor in history is College of Arts and Sciences, not the College of Education. So if the student sometimes is not as specific as to say, well, I'm going for history for a degree in education, or for secondary education, most likely that's the part they're missing. So, kind of automatically, the professor who's in charge of doing the advising for the undergrad is just going to tell them, well, you need to complete 36 credit hours in history at 300, half of it in 100, 200, and the other half in 300 level. And that's it. But in the process, the student can miss, again, the classes that they need for education, like an anthropology class, which is what's necessary. You know, so those are essential things. And you guys will see that, especially like in art. For secondary education, I can kind of tell you what those will be. For K through 12 will be Spanish, French, art, PE, music. For 6 through 12, which is still secondary education, the more traditional, biology, history, English, mathematics, and Spanish is for K through 12. So those who I had mentioned, you know, that are in those areas may end up actually being advisors for those. And there's some agreements. I know that for biology, I know that a traditional major in biology, I think is 47 credit hours or so. But for those who pursue a degree in secondary education, is 71 credit hours. Because there's a combination of other areas that actually the state requires from the students that want to go into that. So that's an essential thing. You know, there's for history, although it has nothing to do with history, just so that you know, at least to a certain degree, I suppose, economics is a class that is necessary as part of the gen eds for us. So if the student has completed a degree in education, completed a degree in history, but missed the economics at the College of Ed, stay another semester. And this is another thing too. A student who's going into English for a major, after almost like a semester or two before graduation, they're like, what am I going to do with a degree in English? So what is the next thing to do? I'm going to teach. And right away now they start looking for us, College of Education. Now, remember what I said, if the student doesn't have what is necessary for admission, you know, it could be another year from the time that they're ready to graduate. So that's the other issue that sometimes we try to help them determine whether it may not be necessarily the best idea right now. Why don't you finish the degree and come back for your teacher certification?
So, I know the faculty of the College of Business are sitting here thinking, this is a lot to know. It's a good thing Vladimir's here. What I'm going to hand out, pass around, spread these around. I'm going to use this opportunity to do a little outreach and see if I could get some students from your area to the College of Business, because, as the gentleman had said earlier, regarding students need extra classes to reach that 120 hours. Okay, and we religiously in the College of Business always get students from other areas, economics being one, saying, I want to take some 300 level business courses. I want to take those courses. It's going to help me in my future endeavor. At which point we tell them, well, we would love to have you do that. This is what you have to do to start taking our courses. What this is a list of what we call foundation courses. Okay? Those courses are required by any student, regardless of major, in order to take 300 level courses. Doesn't matter if you intend to major in business, minor in business, or even if you want to take just one 300 level Principles of Marketing or Principles of Management course. All 9 of these courses have to be complete. what I suggest when you have students that say, I don't want to do that, I just want to take the 300 level course. I have a 4.0 GPA, that should be an indicator I can do well in that course. It is not, I guarantee it. We require these courses because we have found over the years that this group of courses is a strong predictor of success at our 300 level courses. Okay? We do not want to authorize people to take courses and then watch them do poorly. Okay? This is to their benefit. Even if they don't ever complete all of these, or even get to our 300 level courses, this in and of itself is a strong foundation of business concepts and theories that if they intend to go into business, whether on their own, working for someone else, this will give them a strong background in that area, especially the accounting, the economics, the business law. On the back side of that is what we call our core courses. And those are 300 level courses, mostly 300 level courses. You'll see some repeats of some accounting and business law and econ courses from the foundation courses. These courses are required by all majors in the College of Business. Regardless of major, you're taking marketing, finance, management courses. What I suggest, especially for our instructors, and this is true for any major in general, always watch out for sequencing of courses, because the worst thing that we ever get when a student says, oh, I only have like 4 more courses to take in order to graduate. And then I look at it, and this is especially true with accounting, I look at the 4 courses that they have, and you cannot take any of them together, okay? So always make sure that they're diversifying semester to semester what courses they are taking, okay? Because we do not want students to be in that situation where they're going to have to be here for literally 1 full calendar year in order to graduate, when had they planned ahead or had they seen an advisor on a regular basis throughout their academic career, they would have been able to accomplish this in 1 year instead of now being 2 years. Okay, so that's a strong thing to watch out for. This is especially for the College of Business people, especially true of the capstone course, Management 393. All of these 4 courses have to be complete in order to take that course. Okay, so we want to make sure in the semester prior to their last semester, they are taking at least their very last core course, so that they don't find themselves in that situation where we have to tell them, well, you can take Management 377, but you're going to take that capstone course a semester later. So we always want to make sure we're aware of that. Again, for us, and again for anybody, if you have students interested in business, I will gladly take them in. I will gladly advise them as what they need to do. I hope that you're not telling students, well, yeah, you don't want to go over to business because they're going to make you take like 9 courses in order to graduate. We will do that, but we will say it with a smile. We want them to take those classes. There is no prize for finishing early, and there is definitely no penalty for taking more courses than 120 hours. Okay? It is absolutely fine. I have had students graduate with 175.
But they can't get financial aid
Right.
towards
Correct.
the end there,
Correct.
so yeah.
Correct. In order to start taking our 300 level courses, you have to have your major declared. In order to have your major declared, you have to come see it.
At least in my experience, and you know, it's working so far. There's a lot of, I mean, I give to each one of my students a catalog every time they come to see me. As part of the evaluation, here's a catalog. Here you will see the College of Education requirements, the degree for education, and also the areas of concentration. And I always encourage, contact the advisor, contact the department, because again, when there's faculty, sometimes they take turns. So, I don't know, that's, I guess it will be interdepartmental.
I have a comment and then a question. The last page in your handout is from the LED advisors. And the handout before that is a memo telling you that there are going to be changes to the last page. And I'm afraid if you keep the last page, you're going to have inaccurate information. I would suggest tear out the last page, don't use it. And just know that from the memo that you have before that, that is what we are currently required of our students.
How will they get the revised form of the last page?
We're working on it. Usually the advisors get together, they make all of the, you know, according to the new policy, they'll make the corrections, they take it through with Effie and the Advisors Council. They approve that, and then it gets
So we
distributed.
need to get it to the folks in arts and
Yeah.
sciences and
But
business.
And the memo is
The memo should tell you, though.
Yeah,
The memo in front of that should
specifically
tell you the
freshmen.
requirements. So
Just for
that
freshmen.
information is accurate. So I just don't want you to have something that's in the works of being.
I want to mention that is true,
Yeah.
because it is true. The memo is specifically for those students who have been admitted in the fall as freshmen. They have to comply with the new changes. The form that it shows at the end actually is for those students who have been admitted a semester before they're
Before,
like kind
and
of
it's like
grandfathered in.
no
So they're
longer-
still subject to the
Yeah.
old system that we have. So that's a great clarification.
Wasn't sure if we get to it in another session. For people who are transferring credits, I know that there's an online website that explains if they have a specific course for certain universities. We already know what it's equivalent to. So I guess it's a two-part question. For those students, do they need to get actual approval if a course already has an equivalent? Is it automatically guaranteed they'll get that if it's already written on the NEIU website as an equivalent? And then for those that don't have an equivalent, who do you send them to?
So these are current students who are wishing to take a course, let's say at community college,
No,
or
vice
transferring in.
Well, either wishing to take a course or transferring. It's kind of the same issue.
Transferring in, that will be done during the admissions
Okay.
review process. And we, the admissions and review and processing office will look to see if the students earned an associate's degree. Because if they have, then their gen ed requirements have been met. If they are coming in with less than that, they will do a quick course evaluation. And those articulation guides that you are referencing are on the admissions website. There are Excel spreadsheets that will say at Wilbur Wright, English 101 is equivalent to English 101 here.
So when they're admitted, this will be done by some other office?
It will be done, and if they
For
are
general education.
for gen ed. And mostly what we have out there are community colleges. It gets a little trickier when we're dealing with four-year schools. We know in the admissions office what it may be transferable, and a lot of the college offices will know that as well.
But sometimes you send this stuff to the chairs of the department.
And that will be up to the chairperson, in this case, to decide that.